Hi everyone! Today I'd like to explore a particularly intriguing theory that could drastically change your perspective on Sprunki. This theory was proposed by Reddit user PsychoDolphin33, and it delves into some fascinating psychological depths. According to the theory, Gray might actually be the main character who suffers from a serious mental illness that causes him to see vivid hallucinations and hear unsettling voices. As a result, Gray's perception of the world is very different from what it would be otherwise. Perceives everyone around him as terribly deformed, chaotic, and even insane, resulting in a terrifying environment where his distorted perceptions are the norm. Gray may seem normal only when he is experiencing hallucinations. Otherwise, his actual state would appear to be unchanged. One particularly strong element of Gray's hallucinations is on a character named Wenda, who appears to be completely obsessed with him. This could be because of a deep and underlying bond between them. In actuality, Wenda claims that Theory truly cares for Gray and wants to help him and his family. She even helps him take his medicine on a regular basis to reduce the frequency and severity of his hallucinations in an effort to help him feel more grounded and less suffering. Gray's interest with the color black and the idea of profound darkness is what primarily inspired him to create his series. This viewpoint clarifies the reasons why Gray often shifts from happy to depressing mood, and the reason behind his manifestation of the black figure in this imagined murky. In essence, while Gray tries to live a normal life among friends in the world Sprunki, these terrifying visions of dead Sprun and nightmarish settings constantly obstruct his peace. In reality, however, things are very different. World Black represents Gray's mental illness, embodying his deepest insecurities and fears. According to this theory, Gray is in a safe environment, and the most of the feisty characters are sincerely trying to help him with his mental health. Gray's more sinister encounter. This theory greatly resonates with me, especially as a possible official backstory. It adds layers to Gray's character and creates a powerful narrative about mental health reality versus perception and the strength found in connections, as are internal battles rather than external threats, highlighting how his friends could actually be important figures trying to connect with him and provide help. How do you think this narrative might alter your perception of Gray? The following notion is quite unnerving. According to previously discussed theories, there may have been a connection between the creation of Incredibox Sprun and a killer or psychopath. This theory has gained traction, and it got me thinking, why are those eerie eyes in the sky there? Have you ever noticed how unnerving they are? One possibility is that the eyes are actually surveillance cameras that are continuously monitoring and even controlling the city of Sprun. It seems as though the residents are under constant surveillance, with every move they make being tracked. But what if? Imagine if these eyes were a gateway for evil powers bringing unknown suffering and unnerving difficulties. These eyes are something even deeper. They could be a portal through which sinister forces can enter, bringing new horrors to the world of Sprun and its characters. What do you think about this theory? Is it plausible or overly dramatic? Please share your opinions in the comments section below. If anyone else finds this concept as terrifying as I do, please let me know. The next theory provides an intriguing twist on the connections between Black. The story takes a darker turn when Black, who was executed for a serious crime, had his eyes blinded as part of his punishment, turning him into a demon who returned to the world of Sprun in a dark disguise. However, Black's love for Wenda remained intact despite his fate. According to this theory, Black and Wenda were once married, and Gray was their child. Black saw Gray as young and vulnerable and decided not to manipulate him, but Gray was deeply troubled by the decisions his parents had made, leaving him emotionally scarred and unable to reconcile his memories with his current reality. This theory adds a profound layer to the characters by implying a tragic family backstory where love, betrayal, and regret intertwine to impact Gray's mental state. Instead of harming her, he persuaded her to join him in this transformed existence. They also shared a love for Gray and left him unharmed. What are your thoughts? Does this past lend too much darkness to the world of Sprun? Or may it be the key to understanding Gray's struggles? Recently, we came into an intriguing anecdote that makes assumptions about how Wenda might have gone insane while playing the game Color Box Mustard. The computer's album contains a picture of Wanda with Maddie by her side, wearing an apparatus that keeps her eyes open. It explains that the Mustard Gang is a criminal syndicate that tortures betrayers by making them watch Stampede ad round. The theory suggests that Maddie may have turned into one of these Stampede ad round videos, and witnessing this could have been what drove Wanda to madness. The constant mind-numbing exposure to these bizarre visuals might have been enough to break her, especially if Maddie or someone close to her was part of the tormenting spectacle. These videos are an unsettling genre on YouTube that features green screens with various characters from various media running across the screen for an astounding 30 years. Gives W's character a strange psychological twist. Does this explanation explain Wenda's spiral into madness? Or does it just add an excessively intense layer? Tell me what you think next. According to theory, when building Wenda, the inventor of Incredibox Sprun might have taken inspiration from a serial killer. Given Wenda's eerie eyes and crazy smile in horror mode, this scenario makes terrifying sense. It suggests that someone from the Colorbox Mustard Gang may have used a gadget that held Wenda until she went insane. Her eyes opened, forcing her to witness a terrible scene. Continuous exposure to the Colorbox Mustard could have further shattered her head, particularly if she already had underlying psychiatric problems or a fragile mentality. It's possible that Mafia exacerbated her mental health issues, driving her to total insanity. Wenda may have broken a contract with the Colorbox Mustard organization, which is claimed to function like a mafia. According to this theory, her punishment may have been purposefully intended to crush her spirit. Wenda, as a sad person, a woman with a disturbed mind who is finally pushed over the edge by unrelenting suffering, which gives her story a terrible psychological depth. Do you believe this theory may be accurate, or is it too dramatic for W's backstory? We appear to have covered every theory we had for today, and I must say that they have all turned out to be quite fascinating. Each of these concepts, in my opinion, certainly deserves a place in the fantastical world of Sprun, where a plethora of possibilities come to life. We would now love to hear your thoughts on, regarding this subject, do you believe that Wenda truly became a victim of her situation? Or do you think that she chose to become frightening in order to get revenge? It's probable that she did this because she was being ridiculed by others, which pushed her to take this extreme action. I hope you found today's episode to be genuinely engaging. We covered a lot of new ground and encouraged you to consider the events in the Sprunk universe from a variety of perspectives. As a result, you may now have some thoughts about what might have actually occurred. And of course, we encourage you to think about it. We're thrilled to incorporate the most interesting and captivating theories that our audience has shared in our next video. So please feel free to share your thoughts. We're eager to see the different viewpoints you'll bring to the conversation. Thank you so much for watching, and if you haven't already, please check out our earlier videos. There are even more fascinating theories there that I think you'll find immensely entertaining.
We all know that Sprunki is a unique game with singing characters who are thrown into a terrifying world with every new mod getting scarier than the last. But what if we could save all the Sprunki? Would they all live? What would they look like? Let's see in a version of the game where everyone survives. We see a typical scene with a soundtrack, but even here, for some reason, all the characters seem afraid of something. Let's examine each character to see what happened to them. Beginning with Oren, he was a good-hearted and happy character who had no enemies or people who wanted to hurt him. However, as we know from the horror version of the game, Wenda tore him apart. Let's examine how he might have survived what happened to him. We see a sad Oren who is no longer happy but is still alive. His body is bandaged where his wound was, and he is saved, but his face indicates that he has gone through something horrifying. As we know, the second person to die was Ratty. He committed suicide because of intense inner anguish, which Wenda caused him. Even though this is a happy ending for him, he still looks angry. I believe he is angry at Wenda and may even be planning revenge next time death comes. He insulted him, saying that the world would be better without him and that he was worthless. What can we see in the happy version where he survived? I'm so glad he's alive. He wanted to make the world a better place. He wanted to build new homes for the characters. He wanted to place spaces for everyone to enjoy. However, an accident occurred on the building site. I believe that Wenda was also responsible for his death. She may have pushed him from a height, causing serious head trauma. Now let's see what happens if he is saved. Like the others who survived, his head is bandaged and he is alive, which is fantastic, but he shows no emotion. Perhaps the severe injury has left him permanently depressed. Funbot failed to handle Wenda's abuse of the others and most likely fell into a deep despair in the version where he survived and appears nearly identical to the original version when things were still going well. But I believe he will never be as happy as he was because the atrocities he saw are now permanently carved in his memory. The Veneria. Although she appears calm and healthy in the updated version, her eyes are closed. Perhaps they can be saved, but she needs time to heal without opening them. The sprout that was growing on her head started to root into her skull, obtaining nutrition from her blood and hair. She will therefore be fine in this version of the game, but in another, Veneria lives, but she will never be able to see her again. What are your thoughts on that? Please share them in the comments section. In the horror version of the game, Gray was able to hide at first, but Wenda discovered him and seriously injured his head. In the new version, Gray is still alive and terrified, but even though all the characters in this version survived, he is still cautious of danger. What happened to Brood, we know for sure. Simon, his brother, tried to kill him several times by biting his head and then his body. However, despite the severe injuries we see in the horror version, Brood survived. So what's his story? In the happy ending, we see Brood alive, his body free of bandages, and his wounds look quite different from those of the others. I have a theory that his body heals itself, and his wounds seem to be regenerating. I think he'll fully recover soon that the lips and left eye are now wounded by pressure and glass fragments. But we can tell that he is fine because there is no blood on his neck and his eye is unharmed. However, like the other survivors, he doesn't appear joyful. It's difficult to go through something like that and simply resume your normal life. Wenda tore away CX's face and body in an unbridled act of savagery, causing him to die violently and horribly. However, in the most recent version of the game, he returns looking nearly identical to his former self, with the exception of a minor color shift. His face and eyes seem to have been miraculously restored. But how could he have withstood such a vicious attack and escaped unharmed? I have a theory that Gray might have stepped in just in time to restrain Wenda and stop the fatal attack, saving Ooks from a grisly end. What do you think? What about Sky? Wenda caused him excruciating anguish by driving 4 rods into his body and torturing him without showing him mercy. Despite the constant suffering, the Sky has somehow fully returned, recovered and seemingly in a stable state. Even though he appears unhappy, his head is heavily bandaged, with one side completely covered to conceal any visible wounds. It is a comfort that he is still alive, and we hope that he continues to heal quickly and regains all of his vigor. Next, let's explore Mr. Sun's narrative. In the first version, we witnessed him being pushed into becoming an accomplice by Black, but in the alternate version, where everyone escapes, Mr. Sun appears to be utterly unaffected, as if the Dark Alliance never occurred. We're seeing a world in which Mr. Sun completely refused to be influenced by Black. Next, we have Derpal, who we saw in a previous video suffered a terrible fate and broke both his jaw and neck. In this survival version, he appears to be fully recovered, with his jaw and, most importantly, his neck fully restored. In this case, he didn't become an enemy or contribute to the harm of others, even though he still has a dejected expression. Mr. Tree's face was nailed to a missing post, making him carry the weight of shame all the time over a young girl from Dayton, Ohio, went missing. And in a recent video, we shared a theory about her and even discovered a real-world connection. If you haven't seen that theory yet, watch it on our channel right now to see the alternate happy ending where everyone survives. Her name is McKenna May. Mr. Tree is distinct. He stands calmly, almost grinning, and has bright green leaves. There is no poster attached. Thus, it appears the mod creator may be implying something more profound. Perhaps the return of the lost girl is connected to Mr. Tree's happiness? If so, it's a really hopeful conclusion. And I'd love to think that this is the planned resolve. Let's move on to Simon in the dark plot. Although Simon eventually took his own life to sate his hunger, the new, happier version of Simon shows him completely changed, as if the darkness within him has completely disappeared. Simon was so consumed by hunger that he even bit his brother Brood, but fortunately, Brood survived. In the horror version, he somehow survived, but it seemed like he saw everything desperately trying to warn us. But Black ended up silencing him for good in this altered version. Although Mr. Fun Computer is calm, almost subdued, the once energetic and cheerful screen we knew now only displays a neutral image. Now he's a typical character with complete control over his impulses and no intention of harming anyone. It's a remarkable change that shows a side of Simon free from his primal, dangerous urges, a neutral expression with just one note remaining. Do you think he still feels the need to tell what he saw? It seems like he has something he needs to say, even if it's silently. After going insane or being tricked by Black, Wenda became Black's weapon and killed nearly every character. However, now that everyone is alive, Wenda isn't happy at all. I believe this is because she prefers the horror version where she could kill characters. Here, she felt amazing. When Wenda begins to sing, we catch a glimpse of her smile, but it's most likely a mirage. Since this is the happy ending, Wenda is attempting to conceal her actual emotions behind this false grin. But as soon as she finishes singing, we can see her true feelings. Please share your thoughts in the comments section, subscribe to the channel, and like the video. How could the Sprunks have survived? Who saved them?